Hey guys, good morning, Flamengo fans. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you're just arriving, I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. We're here with wonderful news, spectacular news. Flamengo is closing incredible deals, incredible deals. Flamengo, man, BAP revealed everything, exposed everything. Flamengo is closing deals. It's scaring everyone. Our friends there, our friend Neto, an influencer who talks about Palmeiras and all the clubs, he's also talking about this, about how everyone is scared of Flamengo, right? But Flamengo isn't leading the Brazilian league and all, but they finished first overall in the Libertadores. Yeah, Flamengo was eliminated from the Copa do Brasil, lost money, but they've already won in another way. I'm going to bring everything to you here because even with everything that's happening, Flamengo is really scaring their rivals. They're earning practically double what their rivals are. And that keeps adding up, adding up, adding up. We're here to bring you a lot of information. There are other things for us to bring to you here, which we're going to get to now. Just a reminder, man, I want to remind you, okay, man, I'm keeping up with everything, right? And everything is matching up. We have our own tips channel, which I'll leave here. Today, I'm going to highlight our tips channel, which is blowing up. Man, 3-3x minus 1 Colombia, another one that hit. Whoever followed our tip, man. And I'll tell you this, it's simple. Just join the channel. The channel will be here in the pinned comment and in the description. Just join the channel and you'll do really well. Because, man, you can have fun. We send out several real money picks, lots of little games, and people are putting up their stakes. They're putting up their stakes. It's awesome, okay? Always play responsibly. For ages 18 and up, fun is not an investment. So take advantage, man. Look, the one from Colombia hit. Yeah, we also released bingo that already hit. We've released several in the last few days. There were many, many hits. And of course, we always try to tell people to just have fun, not to stay there thinking it's an investment or anything like that. And it's working really well, okay? But yeah, it's just for fun. But if you like this game, following the matches and having a reason to have fun and keep up, we have our tips channel. So check it out here. It's really cool. Well, let's go. I want to thank our main sponsor once again, right? Leão Infusões. And man, the intro is on the screen now. There are a lot of little lions. You can even start a collection, you know. Obviously, if you drink a lot of Leão tea from the Leão boxes, you can start collecting them right now. Just imagine, right? If you're lucky, you might get 2 or 3. There are 25,000 little lions that can be found in the Leão Infusões boxes. Well, let's go. I'm going to start here by bringing you this important news, which is the meeting that BAP has, that semi-annual meeting where BAP talks about what's happening at Flamengo, what's new. And we have a partnership, a closed deal by Flamengo. Very interesting, very interesting. Just so you have an idea, Flamengo announced a partnership with Hublot, a giant watch company. Hublot, a traditional Swiss luxury watch manufacturer, and the collaboration will result in an exclusive model inspired by the club's red and black colors, with only 130 units. It's deals like this that might seem, man, that for brand exposure, it's unbelievable, okay? Flamengo with Hublot is surreal. Yeah, the product was presented during the board's event and will be sold by Sarah Joyas, okay? The initiative is part of the new features announced by the club for the coming months. With his presence at major sports competitions, you'll probably see Hublot everywhere at those huge sporting events. Yeah, Hublot is now joining the list of brands that have a partnership with Flamengo, okay? This isn't the first time for Hublot. In 2011, Flamengo released a special edition of watches in partnership with the manufacturer. Man, Flamengo is huge. I'm telling you this for a reason. Hublot only looks for giant clubs in the world, okay? Hublot goes after the global giants. Yeah, another important piece of news for us to bring to you before we talk about the money issue, right? Flamengo is going to be swimming in cash, but paparazzo, Flamengo doesn't have money to sign anyone. Yeah, in the middle of the year, they said they had $1 billion to sign players. We've already explained it's not $1 billion to sign players, it's $1 billion for football. Yeah, and then you already had the signing of Paqueta. And man, there are other things happening that will allow Flamengo to make good signings, right? I told you guys that to me it was a bluff. Flamengo has money to sign players. It was all a bluff, okay? It was all a bluff. Flamengo does have money to sign players. Flamengo will just need to do things a bit differently. I've already told you this. So, look, another important piece of news. Starting in 2027, Maracanã will have a new museum. The project was presented this Tuesday at the meeting. Fred Nantz was even there, right? The space will be divided into sections. The first will focus on fans, while the second will explore Maracanã's relationship with Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, a tunnel of legends and everything else. The museum will also have an immersive experience so that visitors feel like they're on the field, okay? In addition to an event area and a gaming space aimed at a younger audience. Yeah, man, it's all of that. With Flamengo, it's about the museum and partnerships. Flamengo is, sometimes it seems like it's not much, but Flamengo is doing all this and it's growing and growing and growing. Look, just so you have an idea, there will be a restaurant with a view of the field at Maracanã. The main stadiums in the world have that. So there will be a restaurant with a view of the field. Fred Nant announced the construction of two restaurants on the fifth floor on the east side of the stadium, both with a view of the pitch. That's crazy. Yeah, but Flamengo doesn't have a stadium. Flamengo will run Maracanã for 20 plus 20 years, my friends. Most people who are here watching this video, as long as they're alive, Maracanã will be under Flamengo's control. So don't come with that talk. But Palmeiras has one, but they can't use it for that long. Even Botafogo has one, but Botafogo too, right? They run on Guignon there, yeah, for that long. Relax, relax. That talk doesn't work with me, okay? It doesn't work. So, yeah, one of them will be the sports bar with capacity to hold up to 500 people. The other one, still unnamed, will specialize in meats and will have capacity for 250 customers. So people can visit the restaurant even when there's no game, right? Yeah, the expectation is that both spaces will be opened in 2026. So it's huge, right, guys? It's huge. I'm going to bring here now the news that worried all the rivals, right? I've already told you, stop talking about Palmeiras. São Paulo is the same. They haven't won any recent titles either. But they're scared. They're scared because Flamengo does twice as much. Yeah, there are other clubs that Flamengo is scaring even more. And I'll say this. Our rival today in terms of titles is Palmeiras because they've managed to win a lot of titles just like Flamengo. Flamengo has achieved more in this century. But yeah, and I agree when BAP talks about this Spanishization thing, which doesn't really have much to do with the Spanish league. No, it doesn't really have much to do with the Spanish league. So, Flamengo's general director, Paulo Dutra, presented the club's revenue at the beginning of the board meeting. And based on a study by Ernest Young, the executive reported that Flamengo made 2.1 billion in 2025. It's confirmed 2.1 billion in 2025. And he pointed out, when comparing the numbers with those of other major Brazilian football clubs like São Paulo, Fluminense, and Corinthians, Flamengo's revenue is almost double that of those teams, okay? São Paulo, Fluminense, and Corinthians. Flamengo gets double. The director also explained the difference between total and recurring revenue, the one that the club has in a more predictable way, regardless of sporting achievements. According to him, Flamengo reached between 1.6 and 1.6 billion without Flamengo needing to qualify, win titles, and so on, not counting the prize money or the amounts earned in competitions, Flamengo already has a revenue of 1.6 to 1.7 billion. In recurring revenue, this amount is considered fundamental to sustain the institution's fixed costs and keep the football team very strong. So, my friends, what do I always tell you? We have the rival fans, right? And I'll tell you guys that I also follow Neto from the Opina Porco channel a lot. He's a guy who has a really strong opinion, right? Yeah, and he's a guy who praised Danilo. Just so you know, he really praised Danilo a lot. Danilo's press conference yesterday. Yeah, I don't think there was anyone, man. I saw even journalists who support rival teams praising Danilo a lot. Everyone is praising Danilo's clear-headedness, saying he deserves to be captain. He should be the captain, not just of the national team, but also of Flamengo. He's a really great guy, man. He's a really great guy, okay? And so we have some important information to share with you all about all of this, right? I'm just gonna listen here, for example, right? Opina Porco is talking about the issue with Pedrinho, okay? Because he talked about BAP, Pedrinho started making insinuations about Flamengo and BAP again. Look at that. He brought it here. Let's follow Nito now. If you can, subscribe to Opina Porco as well, okay? That's it.
Pedrinho, he made an open letter taking a stand to the channel Atenção Vascaínos talking about the case. Let's check this out. I'll read the letter.
Let's go, let's go.
I don't know if this obsession of BAP with meddling in other people's lives is some unresolved personal issue. Let me make it clear that President Leila has no involvement in the negotiations with the future investor. And Vasco has nothing to do with the fear that BAP has of her. Could all this fuss be a smokescreen to cover up moves happening in the shadows behind the scenes? If it is, I'm warning you, it won't work. The recovery of CBF's credibility, which I believe is happening, well, actually, I'm not so sure if it really is, but anyway, what a mess, huh?
What a crazy thing he said.
It won't be interrupted by pressure from those who are afraid. The right thing will still be done. Instead of talking about what he doesn't know and inventing conflicts where there are none, BAP should focus that energy on facing his own. Like the same sponsor of the championship.
I can't believe he went for that. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he talked about conflict when Vasco itself already had, the company that was sponsoring the South American Cup and everything, and it was on the uniform. When Palmeiras had the same betting sponsor as the Libertadores. When Atlético Mineiro, their partners there, União Sinistra, had it. Atlético Mineiro had the same sponsor as the Copa do Brasil, and Flamengo won the Copa do Brasil against them. That doesn't mean anything. The guy is trying to play and praising the CBF. What's Pedrinho's intention in praising the CBF so much? I'm impressed. I want to thank Nito, right, from Opina Porco for exposing this, right? Yeah, look at that. Let's listen.
It's not that I read it. No, I hadn't read it yet. I saved it to read with you all here so we could have a natural reaction to all of this. I'm not aware of this situation with the league and its sponsor, that the sponsor of the Brazilian championship is the same sponsor as the team. Would that be a conflict of interest? No, I say this, guys, because the sponsor of CONMEBOL is the same sponsor as Palmeiras.
Thank you, brother. Hearing this from a Palmeiras fan means a lot.
Last year, at least it was, right? This year, I think it is too.
Me too. I think it is too. So,
in my view, it has nothing to do with it.
That's it.
Palmeiras has already had another.
That's it. It has nothing to do with it. Man, that's what I tell you guys. And then praising the CBF, man. Pedrinho praising the CBF, the development of the CBF. Yeah, I don't understand why Pedrinho, Leila, and company keep praising the CBF so much. When we recently had the change of the head of the refereeing committee, right? He was replaced because there were really a lot of things going wrong, right? And then we see people talking, right? That the president of the CBF did this, did that. Complaining we didn't comment here. We're keeping up with everything, man. It's just that these are situations that I think have a lot to do with Flamengo. When we have to criticize, we criticize. We're not beholden to anyone, okay? Yeah, but honestly, I think it's very serious. And if this is really proven, if there's really a situation that proves something against him, I also think he has to pay. He has to be punished and everything, right? Justice and everything regarding the matter of, about what I mentioned to you about the concern, right? It's important for us to talk here about the other club's concern about Flamengo. Then our friend Neto from Opina Porco gave his opinion. Opina Porco gave his opinion about Palmeiras not wanting to continue, switching to Adidas and so on, because Flamengo would be favored and all that. Let's listen to Neto here. Very clear-headed too, right?
Having a team in Sao Paulo, Palmeiras wouldn't be the brand's preference, since the best contract and the best conditions would still go to the club from Rio. Palmeiras would be a second option in almost every decision. And reaching an agreement at this moment would give Flamengo the possibility to renegotiate the amounts and create an even bigger financial gap in revenue from the sportswear supply deal. So look at what they're worried about. They're worried because
At Flamengo, there is...
it seems like there's a clause, if I remember correctly, okay? Flamengo fans, let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong about this, but I believe there's a clause between Adidas and Flamengo. For example, if Adidas signs a contract with Palmeiras that's bigger than Flamengo's, then Flamengo's contract automatically has to go up to a higher value.
But Palmeiras' contract wouldn't really be bigger, right?
Isn't it? For example, Adidas signed, I don't know, an 80 million deal with Palmeiras. Flamengo's has to go above 80 million. Because Flamengo's team has priority under the current contract.
But then it wouldn't have any more.
My honest opinion about this, it's nonsense. That's nonsense. So that means the Palmeiras advisors and directors are worried about Flamengo's increase in financial revenue.
But my friend, all they care about is Flamengo.
Look, guys, Flamengo has more sponsors, but sometimes we sell a homegrown player there for even higher amounts.
Don't worry so much about Flamengo and do your part. We go there and buy the scale at another place. Ours, not theirs. We go there.
And balance it out at another point. We can't. Man,
Clear-headed guy right there.
you know, setting a standard for our partnerships, which sometimes can take us further, can improve our contract numbers. Because our concern is to increase Flamengo's revenue. The revenue and earnings of Flamengo from sponsorships.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for telling the truth. There will definitely be Palmeiras fans angry at you for telling the truth. Once again, the truth. For having talked about the sponsorship issue, about the conflict, right? For having talked about Pedrinho, and now also for talking about Leila from Palmeiras herself, about the board members, only worried about Flamengo. Flamengo confirmed the sale, accepted the offer. The player accepted the offer. Ryan Roberto and Flamengo accepted as well. So both sides agreed. And Flamengo finalized the sale of Ryan Roberto to Shakhtar Donetsk, okay? So this information is now confirmed. They paid 9.5 million euros as a fixed amount and another 500,000 euros as a bonus if certain goals are met. Yeah, so the total is 10 million euros. Now, you know, Flamengo didn't get 10 million as a fixed amount. It's 9.5 million fixed plus 500, okay? Flamengo still retains 10% of the rights, as previously mentioned. All information, including the amount, was correct. 70% goes to Flamengo and 30% to Atlético Paranaense, who owns a share of Ryan Roberto's rights, okay? Yeah, Flamengo proposed a contract renewal. The player didn't accept. His staff didn't handle it well. I think, man, he could have earned a lot more in another negotiation. He would have earned a lot more leaving Flamengo on good terms, loved by the fans, but they chose not to do that, right? So yeah, man, the player is from São Paulo. I don't know if he was a Flamengo fan. There are those things too, right, guys? It's a shame. It's a shame, okay? Anyway, Flamengo secures this sale and will have a bit more breathing room. To sign players during the transfer window, they had to sell some first. They still need to make more sales, but they'll have more breathing room to sign players now in the mid-year transfer window. At least Flamengo is sorting out the sales issue, which is necessary. And what they tell us is this: it's better to sell players whose contracts are ending, like Cebolinha himself, who Flamengo is trying to do something with, to sell and make some money. He's going to leave for free, right? So it's easier for Flamengo to, for example, make a deal for Lohan, make a deal for Alassian, players who at this moment aren't able to adapt and so on. Flamengo negotiates these players, negotiates players of lesser importance within the squad, and then solves those 230 million reais that Flamengo has to negotiate in the middle of the year and gets some breathing room, right? They can relax to make signings. They'll still want to sign players in installments. Flamengo will need to negotiate during the mid-year transfer window. Less upfront and more in installments. But even so, Flamengo gets some breathing room to sign players. And this is the first then big negotiation here. we can pretty much consider it a big deal, right? They won't get the full amount, but a deal of almost 10 million euros is guaranteed, right? That's an interesting amount. Let's hope the other deals go through as well so Flamengo can be at ease. Let me bring you some interesting news, okay? The president of Flamengo gave an interview to Charla Podcast the other day, and it turns out something went unnoticed. A call from Pedrinho. Pedrinho called. It's Pedrinho from Cruzeiro who called BAP. And then BAP said the following. Can you say that Cruzeiro is an easy opponent for Flamengo? Obviously not. In my opinion, the toughest matchup in this stage, with all due respect to the other clubs, is Flamengo versus Cruzeiro. It goes for them too, right? Pedrinho speaks up. He called and said, we get along so well. I think those guys, man, now we're going to face you. Like, kind of regretting it, right? And then BAP said, I told him, Pedrinho, I could say the same thing. I didn't want to face you guys now either. If there was this kind of Spain-style concentration of power in Brazilian soccer, maybe I shouldn't be so worried and respectful of Cruzeiro. Perfect, right? So I thought BAP's statement was really important, talking about Pedrinho's call and showing that there's no arrogance, right? No arrogance at all, actually. It's a really tough match, and Flamengo didn't want to face Cruzeiro right now. Maximum respect. Flamengo didn't want to face Cruzeiro right now. That's it. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and leave a like on the video live here from Morristown, right? Where the Brazilian national team is staying. Paparazzo Rubro Negro, much love. Greetings, Rubro Negro. This is Flamengo. Thanks.